Welcome to Chasing Curiosity TV. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. The news broke like a thunderclap on a calm sea. In late September 2025, screens across Manila lit up. Beijing declares Scarborough Shoal a marine nature reserve. China to impose new rules on disputed waters, screamed another headline. For millions of Filipinos, this was no distant maneuver. It was a direct challenge. The announcement from Beijing sent shockwaves through the archipelago, feeling less like environmental policy and more like a territorial seizure. Social media erupted. Atenang West, Philippine Sea and Halart hands-off Scarborough trended within hours. News anchors spoke gravely, interviewing maritime experts and officials. This wasn't just about rocks and reefs. It was about sovereignty, pride, and the sense of being pushed around by a powerful neighbor. For fishermen in Pangasinan and Zambales, the news threatened their very existence. Scarborough Shoal was their ancestral fishing ground. The Chinese declaration felt like a lock on their livelihood, a no trespassing sign on their own backyard. The government responded swiftly. The Department of Foreign Affairs issued a scathing protest, calling Beijing's move a blatant violation of international law. President Marcos Jr.'s administration, already working to strengthen alliances, now faced a moment of truth. The headlines set the stage for confrontation, not just in diplomatic halls, but on the high seas. The nation braced for what would come next. China's announcement was cloaked in the language of environmental protection. Beijing claimed it wanted to preserve Scarborough Shoal's ecosystem, proposing a research station and new rules. On the surface, it sounded noble. But for the Philippines, it was a calculated political move. Declaring a nature reserve would justify a permanent Chinese presence. More Coast Guard, more enforcement, and more exclusion of Filipino fishermen. Manila saw this as a backdoor to annexation, using green rhetoric to mask territorial ambitions. By wrapping its claim in environmentalism, China aimed to confuse the world and make Philippine protests seem unreasonable. But officials pointed out the hypocrisy. China, after destroying coral reefs with island building, now claimed to be a marine protector. For Filipino fishermen, the reserve would criminalize their way of life, giving China cover to drive them out. Any Filipino boat could be labeled a poacher, justifying continued harassment. The plan was seen as a tool of exclusion, a stepping stone to absolute control. Manila was not fooled. The world was being asked to choose conservation or the rights of a nation. To understand Manila's fear, look back to 1995, Mischief Reef. China built fishermen's shelters in Philippine waters, claiming innocence. The world watched, but did nothing. Those shelters became concrete buildings, then harbors, then military fortresses. What began as civilian structures became permanent military outposts. The loss of Mischief Reef haunts the Philippines, a playbook of occupy, deny, build, militarize. Civilian pretexts gave way to irreversible military control. By the time intentions were clear, it was too late. This is why the Scarborough Shoal Nature Reserve set off alarms. In 2012, after a standoff, China stayed while the Philippines withdrew. Since then, China has controlled access. No island has been built, yet. But the fear is real. The reserve is step one in the Mischief Reef strategy. It justifies permanent control, paving the way for construction. For the Philippines, history threatens to repeat itself. The stakes are higher than ever. In the face of this threat, one voice stood out. General Romeo Bronner Jr., Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces. He was blunt. "We will not allow Scarborough Shoal to become another Mischief Reef. That is a promise." This was more than rhetoric. It signaled a shift from passive protest to active defense. Bronner ordered increased Navy and Coast Guard patrols around Scarborough Shoal. The mission maintain a constant Philippine presence, challenge Chinese enforcement, and support Filipino fishermen. This proactive stance risked confrontation, but was deemed necessary. Bronner's words became a rallying cry for a nation tired of being bullied. Filipinos had seen enough water cannons and encroachment. Now there was hope and defiance. The Philippines would stand its ground. The line would be held at Scarborough Shoal. Never again would history repeat itself. The Philippines' claim isn't just about pride, it's grounded in international law. The 2016 Hague ruling was a landmark. It invalidated China's 9-dash line and affirmed Scarborough Shoal lies within the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone. The court declared the shoal a traditional fishing ground for all and found China had unlawfully interfered with Filipino rights. China rejected the ruling, calling it null and void, and ignored the outcome. This open defiance undermines the rules-based international order. The Philippines has law on its side, but not the power to enforce it. That's why Manila's response to the nature reserve is so resolute. It's not just about territory, it's about defending the rule of law. If powerful countries can ignore legal rulings, the global system is at risk. The government makes this central in its diplomacy, reminding the world of the 2016 verdict. Supporting the Philippines means upholding international law, not just taking sides. China's use of environmentalism as cover for strategic goals is a familiar tactic. The Scarborough Shoal Reserve fits a pattern. Civilian or scientific banners lower tensions, but assert control. Actions like research stations or fishing bans gather intelligence and justify presence. The hypocrisy is clear. China's island building destroyed reefs, yet now it claims to protect them. This is gray zone warfare non-military means to achieve military ends. By declaring a reserve, China creates new rules, enforced by its Coast Guard and militia. Filipino boats become poachers, and Philippine patrols become intruders. The real fear, once control is solidified, the research station could become a military outpost. Civilian cover is just the first step. The long-term goal is strategic and military. The green flag of conservation is a disguise for military expansion. Manila and the world see through it. As tensions peaked, China escalated. In early October 2025, the PLA Navy announced large-scale military exercises near Scarborough Shoal. The drills, broadcast with fanfare, were a clear show of force, a message to Manila and its allies. Satellite images showed warships, fighter jets, and amphibious ships converging on the area. Live fire drills and landing simulations sent a chilling message: China could seize the shoal by force. For the Philippines, this was a grave escalation. No longer just Coast Guard harassment, but open military intimidation. The drills created a de facto exclusion zone, intimidating both military and civilian fishermen. The Philippine military went on high alert. The world watched anxiously. The U.S. reiterated its defense commitment, calling for restraint. The exercises highlighted the risk of miscalculation and conflict. For Manila, the drills were the reality behind China's rhetoric. The message: China was ready to back its claims with might. Facing aggression, the Philippines has strengthened its defenses and alliances. The U.S.-Philippine Mutual Defense Treaty is now more vital than ever. Joint military exercises have increased, and the U.S. clarified its commitment to defend Philippine forces in the South China Sea. The Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement allows U.S. assets to be prepositioned in Philippine bases. Beyond the U.S., Manila is building ties with Japan, Australia, and other partners. Joint patrols, equipment, and training are on the rise. France, the UK, and Canada have also increased their naval presence to support freedom of navigation. Meanwhile, the Philippines is modernizing its own military. New ships, jets, and missile systems are being acquired. The goal: a credible deterrent, a porcupine defense to make any aggressor think twice. While the gap with China remains, these steps enhance the Philippines' ability to defend its sovereignty. The nation is no longer alone. It is building a shield with its allies. The Scarborough Shoal standoff is about more than rocks and reefs. It's a fight for the nation's soul. At stake, sovereignty, dignity, and the right to control one's destiny. Losing the shoal would set a dangerous precedent, signaling that Philippine rights can be stripped away by force. For thousands, it's about survival. Scarborough is a vital fishing ground, a lifeline for coastal communities. To abandon it would be to abandon the people. The defense of Scarborough is a test of national pride and identity, a stand against a new form of imperialism. It unites the nation, from government to fishing villages, in a common cause. If China succeeds in building a base, it would complete a strategic triangle, giving Beijing control over the South China Sea. A base just 200 kilometers from Luzon would threaten the country's heartland. Holding the line at Scarborough is about defending the future peace and security of the entire nation. The stakes could not be higher. The world is watching.